Today, I've got a beautiful guest joining me, my girl, Kim. How's it going?
Good, thank you.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you. It's been way too long.
It's been years.
Years. And I asked him to come down because obviously I want to talk about societal pressures with you. And we have these kind of conversations all the time anyway, don't we? Yeah. So we're going to have some fun today.
Yes.
I'm excited. And this is my first ever guest, you guys. So I'm really, really excited about that. So today, obviously, we're going to be speaking about societal pressures and the yearning that a lot of us have to sort of meet these expectations that are kind of put on us. So for reference, I am 33 years old. Kim?
38.
38, perfect. I think that gives our listeners a good sort of reference about where we're at in life. And of course, when we get onto the point of where we thought would be a good place to start then, Kim, is... Were you a bit like me? Because at 18, I had my whole life planned out ahead of me. Did you? Or were you kind of a bit like, go with the flow?
No, so I actually didn't. I knew that I wanted to go to university. I didn't really have a specific career in mind at that point. But what I was very conscious of was that there was an expectation that I should have had an idea about where I wanted to be and what I wanted to go. And that's kind of why I went with the flow, hoping that would transpire at some point. So there was pressure. Yeah.
That's complete opposite to me. So basically your pressure was that you thought you should have these expectations, but you didn't.
Yeah, and some of that pressure probably on myself as well. So I was the first person in my family to go to university, so obviously that's huge. I'm part of a huge family anyway. But I didn't have it all figured out. I was just trying to do the best that I could do with no plan or goal in mind.
Love that. I am glad, because we didn't discuss this before, did we? And I kind of assumed you would actually be the same as me, so I love this. So first of all then, I guess we'll start with like, what age did you feel like you knew you wanted to go to university? Did you know you wanted to be a nurse, for example?
No. Yeah, so I think I probably knew that I wanted to go to university when I went to sixth form. Yeah. And I knew that I wasn't ready to go into a career at 18. So I'm one of the youngest in my year, so I was 18 when I finished sixth form. Yeah. But I still didn't know what I wanted to do, so it just felt like the natural progression. And in sixth form, that's something that is very much advocated anyway. Yeah. But I actually knew that I wanted to be a nurse whilst I was studying my first degree. So I did a degree called childhood studies. Really good if you know that you want to work with children but you don't know what you want to do. Yeah. And there was a lot of people on the course like that as well. And then as I was midway through the course, in my mind I had an idea that I wanted to be a children's author.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a big change.
Well, then Harry Potter came out. It's like, absolutely, I have not got that imagination.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
That was on the pile. So through a friend, I met a group of girls that were studying nursing at the time, and we became quite close with them. I'm still friends with some of them now, and it was a mix. So some were children, some were adults, some were mental health. But it was through them conversations that I studied to be a nurse after I completed my degree.
And obviously, you said you was the first person in your family to go to university. So how did that? Like, how did people react to it, I guess, in your family? Were they proud?
They were proud, but it was a big thing and it was different, and there was a lot of unknowns. So, just for example, it's just my mum in my life. My dad's not around. My mum doesn't drive. So it was just about transport to move everything to where I was going to. Yeah. The finances that come with that at the time. It wasn't as awful as it is now with fees, but there was still fees. So it was trying to figure all that out. And I was working when I was at sixth form. It was like I worked in a cafe, I worked in a hairdresser, so kind of the cash in hand style jobs. But I was using that money to buy things that I thought I needed. So I literally bought everything, like pans, cutlery, and then I got there and everybody has them. You don't all need them, but I didn't have a clue because no one had ever been before. It was completely experience. And then it's trying to balance the university and the social life, and then also seeing family as well, so that's tricky. So yeah, it was kind of going into the unknown.
Very much so. When you did go to university, so obviously it just came about in your own mind. So you never felt this pressure to succeed in life or anything like that, did you? Or?
No, I never really had any like academic pressure or goals pressure. I'm quite lucky in that way, and I have seen, especially when I was at university, some friends that did have pressure. So, for example, when we were getting exam results or course results, the parents would be ringing them on the day, like, what did you get?
Yeah.
My mum's quite laid back with that, so she's just like, you'll get it or you won't. And at the time, actually, I thought, you don't care, like, what are you not ringing me? But I know, and actually I couldn't have dealt with some of the pressure that I know other people had. I mean, to the point that some people would lie about the results because they'd be like, oh, my mum's gonna ring, I've not done great.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. These pressures, the external, often, isn't it, that we're having to meet these standards from actually other people. Yeah, it's not really at the true essence of ourselves sometimes. And I think, would it be the end of the world for these young people if they did get a lower score? We don't know, do we? I guess some parents can be extremely strict, but I think often we put these pressures on ourselves, assuming what our parents may feel. I'm not sure. I love your story because it's completely different to mine. I'll share a little bit about mine. So I did have my own life planned out at 18, which, looking back now, I don't know what I was thinking, and to be honest, I'm glad that things panned out completely different. But say at 18, I thought that I would be married by 23, have my first child by 25. So of course I'd be owning a home with my partner, would have our first child at 25, and obviously I knew that I wanted to be a nurse, so all this was going along in the background. So I was literally, everything was quite regimented, and in terms of how it's panned out, it's like absolutely not gone that way at all. And it's interesting because obviously I went to university as well. Talking of my experience, there was again never any pressure on me to, obviously my parents wanted me to do well at school and they wanted me to get a good job, but I never felt this like, oh my gosh, I need to be the best, or they're not going to love me or whatever. It was never anything like that. So I don't know where these pressures came from for me, but I've always been a perfectionist, always wanted to do well, went into university and obviously wanted to be a nurse. That all went perfectly well. Of course, shortly after that, met a partner, went and travelled, did all that good stuff, got married. So it's like actually everything was going perfectly. And then, of course, as I've spoken in previous episodes, that ended. And I think, I don't know what your opinion is of this is, because I always say, when my husband left me and I was going through the divorce and everything, I often questioned whether it would be worse if I never had that at all, or to have gone through it and then it ended. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I think it's like I had that taste of conforming and then it was like ripped away from me. When he left, I didn't go into work for about 8 weeks. Now that's not because I was on the floor crying my heart out as much as I was devastated, but I was ashamed. I couldn't go to work because I was scared of what people thought of me. So where's this come from? Yeah. And I think that's why I kind of wanted to broach on these societal pressures, because there's something that a lot of us feel that are ingrained on us that often isn't true to us, So for example, obviously, like you say, you're 38. Does anyone, like, has anyone ever mentioned to you, like, do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids?
All the time. Oh, time's ticking away.
Oh my gosh, that's the worst.
You've not got long left.
Yeah.
When are you having children? Fuck off.
Yeah, like, leave me alone, because
it's so intrusive. Because obviously, I don't go blurting my story out to everyone, but there could have been periods where I was trying and wasn't successful. I might not want children. I might just not be ready. But yeah, a definite pressure. And the people around me, a lot of them have had children very young. So I've gone a different pathway to a lot of people in my life. Me and my brother had a conversation actually a couple of years ago, and at the time I was with my ex and we were talking about family, and I'd said to my brother, actually, I do feel really jealous. You have everything that I want. You've got a long-term partner, you've got children, you've got a house, you're stable. And he was like, but you have done things that I can never do because I've got children, or I have to wait until later in life. And I didn't really understand what he meant. But obviously I've done a charity trip to Uganda. I've travelled. I've been able to go on holidays as in when I want to. And you can't do that when you've got a family and commitments. So he actually only went on his first boys' holiday just after COVID.
Yeah.
Because he had children in his early 20s. So there was things that I was doing that he wanted to do, but he couldn't because of the situation. But you only see things from your perspective until you have these conversations. So actually, there was a point where we was probably both looking at each other thinking, I want what you have.
It's the whole grass is greener thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think some of our biggest critique is ourselves.
100%.
And the way that we speak to ourselves, the way that we think. You would never say that to somebody else, but it's okay to say it to yourself, and it's not, but you can't control it. It's the societal pressure, and that ignites the pressure that you put on yourself.
I agree. This is the thing. I was having this exact same conversation literally yesterday with someone at the gym, because he was saying you're always so hard on yourself. You say all these positive and optimistic things and viewpoints about life, but you're so hard on yourself. And I said it's true because, so for like as I've discussed on previous episodes, I had a house. I've still got a house, but I'm renting it out. I don't live there. I live with my mum. I'm 33 years old and I live with my mum. So I put myself down massively for that. And I often feel like, well, I've just done it now. I do own a home. I just rent it out. I feel like I have to, like, stick up for myself almost, like, reason with me. I do own a home. I'm just renting it out. And, like, even, I've obviously just bought a car after being on the bus for the last year since I moved back to England. And I hated the fact that I didn't drive. Obviously, because it's like a lack of independence, but more so because of what people thought of me.
Bus wanker.
Actually, bus wanker. So people would say to me, oh, do you not drive? I'm like, yeah, I do. And I'd be literally explaining, yeah, I do. So actually, I moved abroad for a while, so I sold my car and I've just got back. And it's like, that works for a couple of months, and then a year down the line, you've been home a year. So there was all this pressure, which again, I feel like I put on myself, but it's because of these external society. Society tells me that I am 33, I should own a home, be married, ideally with a child, I should be driving, and I don't feel like I'm fitting in that at all right now. And I did when I was talking to this guy at the gym, and I said, if it was someone else in my situation, I would be bigging them up. I'm like, you're in a great opportunity. You're living at your mum's, you're saving so much money, like, you've got your whole life ahead of you. This is awesome. But when it's me, oh my God, you are failing at life massively.
It's so much easier to give that confidence that somebody needs to somebody else when you can see the benefits of their situation. So difficult to apply that to yourself, isn't it?
I think it's like when someone has a problem, isn't it? They come to you with the problem and you see it so clearly, don't you? But for yourself, you're just so engrossed in the emotional sort of impact, aren't you?
Absolutely. Having a conversation with somebody the other day, going back to feeling like you need to justify.
Oh gosh.
And it was somebody had said, oh, I really like the dress, or something I was wearing that day anyway. I really like what you're wearing. And I was like, oh, it's from Primark. They never asked me where it was from. So why did I feel that I had to justify where it was from? And I think what I was trying to do there is that, it's something like anyone can get it. It's not really expensive. Why? But how many people do that? I comment on people's things all the time. And
it was so cheap from Boohoo.
Why do we do? They've not asked. If they've asked where it's from, then fair enough. But they've literally just said, I like your outfit. Why do we not just say thank you? Thanks.
Accept a compliment where it's due.
But we kind of have to dismiss the compliment by then saying, actually, it's only from here, get it too.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Saying about the pressures of having children and that as well. I just with what you were saying, like, you've been in situations sometimes where you're trying things like that, and I think I've been guilty of it myself. I'll say to people like, oh, do you want children, and things like, do you not want children, or something like that, because it's like one of these, it's just like a conversation. And I think as women especially, it's kind of a given that we should want to have children, which I think for me, more recently, I've been questioning whether that's even what I want at this point. So when I was married and settled and in a loving relationship, and we were trying for a baby at one point, and I couldn't wait. I was so excited. The thought of being a mum, amazing. And then, like now, I can't even imagine myself being a mum. And obviously that's me at 33, and I'm thinking to myself, well, is that ever going to change? I don't know. But then I almost feel bad for not feeling maternal right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably a lot of people that feel like that, and probably a lot of people that are scared to say that as well, or feel awkward saying that, because then naturally we know that people are curious and they would say why, and you shouldn't ever have to answer that why, but people would ask why, and some people might not want to have them conversations. And I guess it's because the person who's answered the question could then actually get offended by the answer. So if like I do want children, but if I didn't and I said, oh, do you know, I can't deal with when they're really snotty or when they don't listen, and then the person that's asking me, their kid's always snotty and their kid never listens to them, then they might take what I've said personally as in my decision is a reflection on their parenting, which absolutely it probably isn't. So then you just have to be careful about what you say, but the same's not applied when people ask questions. It's bizarre.
I agree. Justifying things, because you made a good point. Obviously, when people ask, I was when I was back in my nursing days, when I was a community nurse, and I was taking a student nurse out with me, and she asked me, and this was not long after I recently returned coming back from my separation. So my mental health was a little bit skew-whiffed anyway. And this poor student nurse, I feel sorry for her now, but obviously just this, you're in the car having an awkward conversation, like, you'll know what I mean, what you're trying to make chit-chat. And this nurse, she goes, oh, are you with anyone? And I just said, no. And she went, do you have any children? I went, no. And in the end, I started reeling off to her. It was hilarious. I said, well, to be honest, well, I was married, and but he left, and I would have liked to have had children, but that's gone now. And this poor student nurse. But again, it actually irritated me that why don't we ask people how they are and if they're happy? Like,
have you got anything exciting planned for the weekend? Is a much better conversation starter than, do you want kids? Yeah.
Although that's a very good one, actually. Do you have anything exciting planned for the weekend? Because a good point. Do you not think that's a pressure as well? Because sometimes I don't do anything at the week. In fact, most of the time, I don't do anything at the weekend. And then, I mean, this is the joys of social media as well, isn't it? But then you'll look at other people out there having so much fun. I mean, we're going on to comparison a little bit here now. But again, there's this pressure. Am I meant to be out?
Yeah.
Like, am I meant to be partying? Am I meant to be out with my family? What am I meant to be doing?
Yeah.
Like, I've got no friends. I'm sat at home on my own watching Netflix. Like, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we're being told how to live. And I don't know, like I was saying before, sometimes I kind of question whether this is even true to me. So after, obviously, as you know, like I went and lived away in Bali for a little while and things. And as I was planning to go there, I'd been going to therapy a lot at the time, and we'd been having a lot of discussions about how I'm on this new trajectory of life, and it was so exciting. I was so excited about it. But then I couldn't help but question the whole, like, what ifs and how things would be different. But fundamentally, when I got to Bali and I was living there, living this very unique lifestyle compared to what I had, that felt right. But it made me think, well, was I just going along with life? Was I just going along with it? I mean, I was very happy in my life, but it started making me question, do we just conform? Do we just, like, get a house, get married, have children because that's what's expected of us? And then now I question whether I even want that. Honestly, I'm 33 years old and I don't know what I want to do with my life right now.
I think some of it, but then I think that sometimes there are just things that happen in your life at a certain time that feel right at that time, and then once you get past that point in your life and you reflect, you then either are glad that you made that decision, or sometimes you regret that you made that decision. But all in all, everything that's happened gets you to the point where you are now.
True.
So
I like that.
It's, you know, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Nobody has had a picture perfect Disney life up until the point now. It's just, you only know what you know, and again, it goes back to comparison and looking on people's social media. You only post the best bits of your life.
Yeah.
So that one photo where there's a smiling, happy family, for example, they look like the perfect family, but actually. One of my friends had done a post a couple of months ago where she'd taken a picture of her husband, 2 children in the park, gorgeous picture, very beautiful family. And then she said 2 minutes after the photo, one of the kids had shit on her husband's arm, another one had run off, the dog had done something, and that did not look like that photo.
Exactly.
But obviously she didn't post that. She posted what looks nice, and some of that, I think, because people only share a snapshot of their life, we then base the pressures that we feel inside of us, and society does as well, based on the snapshots and the good bits. And there are some influencers, or refer to themselves as de-influencers, that do share the nitty-gritty. But when you look at the comments behind them posts, they're awful. So people don't like to see reality. And is that because it hits home for some people? Is it just that they're not interested? But that is real life. But
it's true. I think people like to put other people down, especially people of high influential value, famous people and things like that. I think there has been a change in recent years, especially on social media, that people are liking to see a bit of that Insta versus reality kind of thing, aren't they? And even now, a lot of famous people are choosing not to put filters on photos and things, which I think is a powerful movement, that because it's almost gotten too far. Like, I would hate to be 16 years of age in 2024. Like, I would absolutely hate it. You know, you turn the telly on and it's Love Island telling you, you know, this is how you should look, this is how you should act. And again, it's literally telling you that the aim in life is to find your Prince Charming or your princess, whatever. And then obviously they get home from school, they're on social media, and again, they're bombarded with models that are skinny, unhealthy, people that are pumped full of Botox and fillers. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, you know, anyone who's listening, if you have it, that's totally fine, good for you. I actually trained in Botox and like aesthetics back in the day, so I'm totally all for it, like people who want to get it. But it's almost, it's like we're being told every day, like what we consume creates our lives, doesn't it? And I've said this before, like what we are consuming every day, it creates our reality. And people are waking up every day and being told how to look, how to act, you know, the sort of job they should have, the sort of car they should have,
how to pose for photos. I see them post a lot.
Oh yeah, there's actually posts on how to do the perfect pose. Like, come on.
I actually tried to do one once and I felt so stupid. The person that I'd had to take a photo was looking at me like, are you okay, hon? So I just did that.
Yeah. In the end, honestly, I prefer a natural shot. I don't want to pose. Just get me one when I'm mid-laugh or something, or just doing a twirl or whatever, because it's just, oh God, it's just such... These standards that we're almost setting for ourselves are not attainable.
No, and they're not real.
They're not real. And then we go hard on ourselves when we're not meeting them, when we weren't going to meet them anyway. The people that we think have met these standards haven't met them themselves. Like, so for example, going back to the highlight reel, when you see another person on social media and I've got someone in particular actually, and she is living the absolute dream. Also, I believe, you know, she's got her life figured out, but then that person could be jealous of something that you have. Like, we all want something that someone else has got.
Absolutely.
You know, and
that highlight doesn't show the behind bits, which are really not great for some people. Yeah, there are some people that are in my life where when you look at the social media, they look like they've got the perfect life, and actually their life is really not great at all at the moment with the circumstances that they have going on. But if you don't know them well enough to know that and have them conversations and know how they're feeling, they look like they've got the perfect life. Yeah. So they're probably looking at other people's when people,
it's really hard, isn't it? It's hard to know. And I think that's why often, like, the main sort of takeaway that I wanted to sort of bring people from this episode is that, like, really learning and exploring you as an individual. What do you want outside of this external noise? So I mean, oh gosh, I could go on about it all day, but for example, like obviously I quit my nursing and that is what I wanted to do, and unfortunately I don't want to go into loads of detail, but basically like there are people in my life that aren't happy about that, and I understand that because before I was, you know, living this what I see as perfect life, so to speak, that I think they were very proud of, and now I'm on this very different path. And I think that's another thing, that then I've got this pressure of, I feel like a disappointment and a burden to like my family or the people around me. Again, like they're having to explain yourself and things, but fundamentally what I have to come back to, I've done lots and lots of journaling and meditating on this, but what it all comes back to is, what do you want? Yeah. You know, what do you want as a person? It's great to get other people's opinions. And of course, as human beings, we crave connection, don't we? That's what we want. So you want to make your parents proud. You want your friends to value you as a person or whatever. You want society to think you're winning at life. But what is winning at life? Yes,
it's
living
being alive
in the present. And
it's being healthy. It's being able to breathe.
Yes.
It's being able to experience everything that we take for granted, like what a wasp sounds like, or what the beach smells like. That is living.
100%.
But it's really difficult to remember that quite a lot of the time. I think
so. I think it's hard with the outside noise. I'll give you an example. So obviously I got this car this week, and obviously I got home last April, so I've been home now just over a year, and in that time I've obviously not been driving because I've been saving up to get like just a decent car that'll last me, you know. Didn't want to get another car on finance. I thought I'll just save up, you know. And I got it this week, and I was driving home on the way home, and I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm grateful, but I thought I'd be more excited than this. I had literally been, I'm telling you now, the last year I have not stopped going on about how shit it is not driving, that I'm spending a fortune on Uber and getting the bus, which I never thought I'd step back foot on a bus again. And then I'm there in this car, and I'm like, where's this sort of exhilarating moment? Where is that? Like, why aren't I excited and proud of myself? And it just goes to show that often these materialistic sort of things in our life, they don't always bring you happiness. Like, of course it brings me like the freedom, which fundamentally is what I need, the freedom, the independence. But it's surprising, and I was talking to my friend about this, that we was on about taking note of those moments that actually give you that exhilarating feeling. And I've had a few in my time, and one of them that sticks out in my mind was when I had booked a trip to Greece for my 30th, and I was in Santorini in my plunge pool at the time. It was my 30th birthday, the night of it. I'd been out for food, so I was literally on my own in this foreign country. I'd been out for food, surrounded by couples, might I add, and it just felt really strange. But I got home that night, and I sat there in the plunge pool, and the butterflies in my stomach, and you know that giddy feeling that you get. It was sensational, and I'll never forget that. And other times I've had it. Actually, I've been on the way home from like therapy sessions when I've had an enlightening moment, and I'll be driving in the car, and I just get this moment, and it just goes to show that a lot of these feelings that we're striving for come from the simplest things. Now, obviously, being in a plunge pool in Santorini, that isn't simple. It costs money, and I had to get there, and it's luxury. But actually, it was the simplicity of just being with yourself.
It's experiences, isn't it? Rather than items.
Yes, exactly.
And maybe this is where, actually, thinking about it, maybe this is where some of the societal pressure comes from. So, for example, the day that you got married, you probably had that feeling and felt exhilarated on that day, and that's okay. That was how you was feeling in that moment. And likewise, people that have children say that the day they gave birth was life-changing, you know, that feeling that they had. So maybe that's where some of these pressures start. And then that, unfortunately, because of the digital life that we live now, has extended to material items. And then there's then that pressure that maybe I'll feel like that if I get that new car, I'll get this amazing feeling that somebody else had, who probably was gifted that, so didn't work hard for it. So they're never going to have the same experience. And even if you have it, it's an item, isn't it? It's not something you can take in and relish like meaningful experiences.
Yes.
And sometimes that might be a situation, but it also, like you say, might be a discussion that you've had as well, where when you reflect, then you get that same feeling as well.
Yeah, beautiful feeling from the most simple things.
Yeah.
When I was in Bali, and again, I remember this, just sitting on the beach looking out at the ocean, and I'd been going through a tough time, and I'd been to like a women's circle, and they'd mentioned about how just seeing the rainbow in a moment, the bright side, like no matter what's going on in your life, there's always a brighter side, you know. And I didn't get it at the time because honestly I was very doom and gloom about what I was going through, and I thought I was stuck, whatever. And then I sat there, and in this moment I just looked out at the ocean, and honestly I could have cried with like overwhelming gratitude and thinking this is the rainbow, like just being. And we take it for granted because we're just always working for more, wanting more, striving for more, being told we expect more. It's funny actually, I was gonna kind of off topic, but I really wanted to bring this book in with me today. I was trying to find the section of it that shows this, and I couldn't for the life of me find it at all, but I've mentioned it before. It's The Unexpected Joy of Being Single, and this book is absolutely insane. And to be honest, I think everyone should read it, whether you're in a relationship or not, because it kind of just opens your eyes to life outside of craving love from someone else, basically, you know, like embracing you as a person. But it was showing these statistics, and I think this is another thing, how it's like forced upon us. It was showing these statistics of how if a couple buys a home, they get inundated with congratulations, you know, your new home card, things like this, or like when you get married, everyone gives you gifts and celebrates your marriage. When you're having a baby, you have a baby shower. So who celebrates like the woman who starts a business, or the guy who buys a house on his own, or, you know, the couple that end the relationship because they actually love each other but realize that they're on different paths. Like, who celebrates that? You know, getting a divorce, for God's sake, because it's the right thing to do. And it was just showing all these statistics. So say like, and I can actually vouch for this. So obviously I got the house, got all these new home cards, got married, got all these lovely gifts and things. But then when I took on a solo mortgage on my own, I didn't get anything. And I'm not saying where's my congratulations, but it's the proof in the pudding, you know.
I think I'm guilty of that, actually. I think I'll
probably
send you a belated one.
Yeah, please do. But it's true, and it's like when I qualified as a nurse, I got a huge bunch of flowers and like champagne and all this. Everyone was so proud of me. But when I quit, no, I didn't get nothing then. When I started my business, no, nothing then. And it's just, it almost makes you question, all right, this isn't a big deal then.
Like, it validates.
Yes, it's the lack of validation, actually. Not that that's what you need, but it's just like further instills this sort of perception of how life is meant to be. I don't know. I think I could go on about this all day because I feel really passionate about it, but I think basically what it all boils down to is just truly living for you, however that looks. You know, if you're gonna be 40 and you decide to take a gap year and go travel the world, celebrate the fuck out of that, because you're no different than the 30-year-old who's just got married. You know, you're on such a unique path. Our journeys are just so unique and beautiful, and we've just got to embrace it. Yeah, absolutely. You know?
And this sounds really depressing, but we only live once. Like, and I saw a meme a couple of weeks ago, actually, and at the time I thought it's a bit depressing, but it has made me rethink the way that I think. And it said, from the moment you're born, you're on a timer. And
that is depressing.
When you think with that logic in your head, you do have to embrace everything, because waiting until next time, there might not be that opportunity for a next time. Just embrace what feels right for you at that time.
Amen.
Rather than doing something that is expected, but your heart and soul isn't in it. People listening to this that are in relationships, and I guess it's figuring that out together, isn't it? So doing things because each other wants to do it rather than one person and one person just going with the flow, because you have to be equal for it to work. And I think that maybe is the secret to some people and the relationships, in that they are on the same wavelength, and for things that they're not, that's okay, and they can just be independent in certain things, but you have to be able to do that, because otherwise you might as well just be single, because one person will be miserable.
Well, you lose yourself. I had it very recently where, and I said I'd never let myself like go through this again, and it was a very like unique experience, to be honest, and I'm sure I'll go on about it in other episodes, but I ended up losing myself because I was so almost worried and caring about the other person's thoughts, feelings, what he was going through, how to make him happy, and I wasn't happy.
It consumed you.
Yeah, it literally consumed me. And again, I think whether that be in a relationship or with a family dynamic or a friend, my gosh, friends, like, because I think there's a lot of people pleasers out there. I am still a recovering people pleaser. I'm working hard on it every day, but my gosh, I put other people before myself. I ended this relationship recently, and I actually had to end it to save myself in the end, because I'd lost all respect for myself. It wasn't a horrible relationship, by the way, but it just wasn't right, is what I'm getting at. And I lost myself in that. And I think, again, it's putting other people before yourself, what they want for you. Yeah. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's like your soul's almost crying out to you, isn't it? Yeah. You know?
And it's difficult, isn't it? Because the reason you make that decision is because you care and you think about other people, and you're not self-absorbed, but it's really tricky to get that balance right.
How many people are in relationships because they're frightened of the alternative?
Absolutely. And friendships.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I would say it's probably more so with some friendships. How many people have been friends with the same person because they went to nursery together, but their mindsets are different. They're on different paths, but they've been friends for such a long time, and it's sad to lose that. But just as individual journeys change, sometimes then the relationships that are attached to them individual journeys, they change as well, and that's okay. I guess it's having that mentality that at that time that person was really important to you, touched you, and helped you on the path that you are now in some way, and you should be really grateful of that. Do you know, rather than clinging on to something that isn't quite what it used to be.
I've read about this before, where everyone comes into your life, it's either reason, a season, or forever, and everyone they like I've had people come into my life where they've literally got me through a hard time, and then we've just parted ways. Nothing's happened. It's just not the way that it's meant to be. And it's like, again, you know, because we're talking about pressures, it's just like releasing that pressure. It doesn't matter. These people or these things or these experiences come in and out of your life, and it is just very much about just flowing with it. It's okay. It's okay. I think it's great to like goals and expectations and things. I think it's good to set goals. I have goals for myself now. But now it's not life or death. Whereas before I was like, if I don't get this, and the way I felt if I didn't meet a goal was just ridiculous. It was so sad to see like the impact that it had on me. And now I'm just like, I've got ideas and goals of what I want to achieve, but I'm letting it happen. I think everything happens for a reason. The universe is guiding us in some way, shape or form, and all in divine timing. And that is at the point that I'm at now, where I'm just accepting, I'm allowing, and just letting it all come to me. It's a beautiful place to be in. You know?
It is.
But equally, it's totally normal for those little niggles to come up.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
Oh, I had a mare this morning, just to Mark if you're listening. But yeah, it's just it's allowing yourself to feel them emotions as well, isn't it? So if you feel upset, you feel angry, as long as you express them emotions in a safe way that doesn't hurt anyone else, it is okay to allow yourself to feel them, to move on. So I was a stroppy mare this morning because of different scenarios, but I'm okay now. And I was in the car, you listen to music allows you to switch off because you get lost in the music. It's a beautiful day. The view, as much as I hate the M62, the views are gorgeous when you drive.
Yeah, they really are.
The road is shit.
Yes.
The views are gorgeous.
Yeah.
So it was a really beautiful drive. Obviously, I used to work in Bolton, so I'm driving into Bolton, and then all the memories come back
memory
there.
lane.
Yeah, and I was going through a really tough time just before I left, and the team was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you guys helped me get through that really tricky and difficult situation that I was in before I moved away, and all that comes back as well, and you know, it's nostalgic. And so yeah, I was an awful person a couple of hours ago, but
yeah, you make a good point when it comes back to like everything happens for a reason and stuff. And I'm going to ask you a question now. So like you were saying about how you was going through that hard time,
yeah,
and these people were there for you, and this brought back memories and things. So everything that's happened in your life, whether it be good or bad or neutral, whatever, would you change anything? Would you change anything? You don't have to tell me a story, but is there anything that you would change, do you think?
So there's part of me that would say yes, but there's a part of me that would say no. And I think the bigger part of me would say no.
Yeah.
Even though there maybe would be things or decisions, but I wouldn't be where I am now if all of them things hadn't have happened.
Yeah.
So if I changed anything, then actually my now situation could be very different.
That's the thing.
There's not been anything in my life where, you know, something serious has happened, or I've committed a crime, or, you know, because if that had happened, then I would want to change that. But that's not happened. So yeah, there has been experiences that have been really, really tricky to get through, and at the time I didn't think that I could, but I wouldn't be where I am now and in the situation I am now if they hadn't have happened. So it sounds cheesy, but it's just part of my life's journey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I was listening to another podcast recently, and they were saying how they was interviewing people who'd maybe been through horrendous experiences, like maybe like abuse or whatever. Like, look, there were a lot of different examples, but they asked them, and actually they all said no, they wouldn't change anything, because I think it brings it down to what you said, that it creates you who you are now. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't say regrets, but there's things I've done that I'm ashamed of, and there's things that I would act very differently now, or things that have happened that could have gone better. I wouldn't change anything, because it's literally got me to the way where I am and who I am and what I now want and value in life. So,
and some of them decisions and experiences are based on emotions, aren't they? And we're human. We're not robots. We're not AI. And it's how you react to them emotions that then sometimes guides what's happening at that time. But you learn from that as well. So you might react in one way to a situation at one period in your life, and depending on the outcome, you might never do that again. Yeah. Because you've learned from it. But if that situation hadn't have happened,
you would never.
You might have reacted to that in another scenario that actually could have been much worse. So you learn from mistakes.
You literally do.
If everything goes smooth, and going back to the Disney reference, if your life is like that, then it might be
picture perfect.
Yeah, but what do you learn?
Yeah, how do you grow? Because I have literally the saying goes, grow through what you go through. Yeah. And I can say that I haven't grown when those periods in my life when everything's been a-okay. I haven't grown from that. Yeah, it's been great, but I've grown through the hard times. Yeah. So it brings it all back to just, we're all on our own unique paths, beautiful journeys, embracing it, being who you are, being authentically you, not succumbing to the pressures of society, influences from external sources, and just,
I think it's recognising the pressures as well, isn't it? Yeah. Being aware, so that at times when they do niggle away, it's easier to bat off.
It's like, oh yeah,
rather than
that's
absorb.
come up again. That's come up again, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Or that person is just, everything's gone amazing for them this year. Yeah. But it's okay, because I'm only seeing a snapshot of their life.
Yes.
So
just recognise, accept, and move on, and just love yourself. And enjoy this life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that concludes today's episode. So today, I hope you found so much value in what we've discussed. If you enjoyed the episode, please definitely feel free to write a review, share with your friends who may benefit as well. And I cannot wait to chat again. And I'll definitely have to get you on more episodes.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we've got so much more to talk about, haven't we?
Can I be a serial guest, please?
Well, we could have some really juicy conversations, couldn't we? So,
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you
everyone for listening. Speak to you soon.